Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside Indiana Overtime. I'm Alex McCarthy, joined by special guest Eddie Koton from WIUX, who called the game today. We're here at the Big House, Michigan Stadium, where Indiana lost to Michigan 20-10, and it's another game. I mean, we find ourselves kind of saying the same thing after a lot of these games, but it's another game where they led late in the third quarter, and then it just kind of got away from them. I mean, there were a couple big plays that Michigan made. But especially in the running game, where that was kind of the big mismatch, where I think they outrushed Indiana like 225 to 225 to 64, and Devion Smith was just a monster for Michigan.
Devion Smith was purely the guy who really carried them. It was kind of coming into the matchup. We really looked at. We were talking about it before the game. The matchups on the outside: Darbo, Jake Butt. How is Indiana going to use Ashawn Riggins, who's a true freshman, Marcelino Ball, who's a true freshman, to cover them? And they actually did like a really nice job of maintaining them. And it really just came down to this rush attack for Michigan that's just hard to beat. They've got those four guys that they can bring out there, and Devion Smith really carried a brunt of the load.
Yeah, he did. He ran for 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, and just punished guys on his way to the end zone too. I mean, he was just bringing people down, which is kind of just his running style in general. But John O'Korn was Michigan's quarterback tonight with Wilton Spate hurt with a collarbone injury. And Indiana, I mean, like you said, it was just like really impressive because they got single coverage a lot of times, and guys were just kind of making plays. I mean, Riggins had a couple nice pass breakups and just really seemed to be playing good coverage. Chris Covington got the start and was kind of the Husky linebacker for Indiana tonight and did a really good job. And Jake Butt had no catches. He had a couple targets. He had one, I think, that he should have had and kind of dropped it. But the Michigan passing game was just not functional hardly at all. I mean, O'Korn was 7 for 16 for 59 yards. And for Michigan going up against one of the best teams, one of the best defenses in the country next week at Ohio State, that's obviously a concern. But Indiana, Richard Lego played fine. He, you mentioned before we started this that he looked confident at least. He was 14 for 29 for 191 yards. Not great, but there were times when Indiana's offense looked good. There was one really good drive.
Yeah, there was. In the second half, they had that early drive that I think Coach Wilson took note of, and I think that's why we saw less of what I'm going to call the chaos package. Yeah. Xander, Camion, and Nate. I think he kind of abandoned that package because of how good Lego looked to start the second half. He wasn't able to really replicate that, but what he did was not make the big mistake. Mm-hmm. He kept Indiana in this game, and I think that's all you can really ask for coming against the number 3 team in the country. Right. I know people will probably be frustrated with the constant sentiment that, oh, we come so close, oh, they come so close, oh, they come so close. But those are major strides of progress coming up against a Michigan team that before this matchup everyone's saying, wow, they're good at everything. Mm-hmm. Number 1 defense, great rushing offense, great receivers, number 1 tight end in the country. IU contained them for most of this game.
Yeah, and it was just, they let it, it's obviously frustrating for a lot of people watching at home and watching in the stands and everything, just because Indiana, probably should have beaten Nebraska. They probably, they had Penn State kind of right where they wanted them, and then let it slip away, and then today, it's just kind of the same thing. A couple plays don't go Indiana's way, and they seemed like they ran out of gas a little bit at the end as well. Defensively, they kind of were just not able to make the tackles that they were making earlier in the game. And Kevin Wilson was saying after the game that maybe there's a little bit of Indiana's lack of depth being exposed because T. Gray Scales, Marcus Oliver, and a lot of those guys are very, very good. But it's just kind of bringing their backups along and getting some of the young guys used to. I mean, this is the 11th game of the season. Ashawn Riggins has started 6 or 7 in a row, and he's never played anything like this for this long, this intense. So it seems like Indiana's kind of wearing down a little bit, at least defensively. But they were very good. I mean, they kept Indiana in the game. Michigan came in averaging, I think, 44 points per game and scored 20 here at home. And part of that, it was windy, it was snowy, it was just a mess down there. And they were playing with their backup quarterback. But still, Indiana held them to 3 for 15 on third down, 0 for 7 on third down in the first half. So it's kind of that, it's kind of the same formula every week where the defense is good enough to win Indiana the game, but the offense is just a little bit short. So going into next week, bucket game. I guess what are some of the things that you're going to be watching for as Indiana tries to get that 6th win, get to back to 500 and bowl eligibility?
I think the main focus is seeing if Indiana can finally play an all-around game. It feels like something that I talked to with Kevin Highland, my color commentator for today's game, has always been this constant semblance of you don't know what this team is actually good at. It seems like sometimes they give up a ton rushing yards, but they're great in pass coverage. Other games they're great at stopping the run, but horrible in pass coverage. Sometimes they can run the ball on you and kill you on the ground game, and sometimes they're looking to air the ball out. And it seems like every game it's different. And whenever one level of the offense or one level of the defense performs well, the other doesn't. And I'm kind of seeing, looking at this Purdue game, a lesser matchup against an opponent that is a struggling football team, and no one can argue otherwise, as an opportunity for Indiana to take a lot of these young guys that we, as an Indiana fan base, should harp on the fact that a lot of the performance today came from guys that will be back next year. Look at that as an opportunity to get all of them going on the same page. Camion Patrick will be back. Ashawn Riggins, the true freshman. Balls, the true freshman. Fan will be back. Lega will be back at center. Get them all going and see if you can situate yourself for what could be a bowl game, possibly a bowl victory, which is something this program has not seen in a long time.
Yeah, and Lega was saying kind of the same thing after the game, that I think he said when we click in all phases, we're pretty damn good. And they are. I mean, they've proved it. That they have the talent to go and match up against these national title contenders. But it's just a matter of, like you said, just everyone doing their job and everyone doing their job at the same time. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. And I think, maybe sometimes Indiana has kind of a tendency to just play close games anyway. They play up to their competition, they play down to it, and I think this next week will be kind of a test in a way to see if Indiana can beat a team that it is objectively better than. I mean, their record is better, they're more talented, they have a head coach.
Have a head coach.
They
That's
are,
a good advantage to have.
Yeah, I mean, they are better than Purdue. They should beat Purdue, but it's just a matter of winning those games that you're supposed to win. So we'll see what happens there. I'll be there. I don't know, are you going to be back, or are you going to be, bummer. Well, I'll be there, so stay tuned there. But for now, that's all we've got. Thanks for watching, and we will talk to you soon.